So let me hit my own side in terms of an idol that is being torn down. How about Donald Trump? How about MAGA? So I want to say I've hit a lot of the left-wing things. I've hit the race issue. I've hit the gay pride issue. I've hit a lot of those things. And there's a reason for that. But idolatry is not a left-wing thing. It's not. And I think there's a lot of people on the right that have gotten very self-righteous about this, and the conservative wing, quote unquote, that have gotten really self-righteous about this. Although I do believe that the left has taken this to some degree to the worst excesses to their great detriment. And the American right is currently in the process of their own implosion with Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. They're imploding. As someone who is a big supporter of both, by the way, they're done. They're cooked. Donald Trump's cooked. MAGA's cooked. Everything's cooked. And so we've been seeing these kind of like fissures and these cracks ever since the election. And now I would say it's safe to say that it's full-blown panic mode from multiple fronts. For Donald Trump, for the MAGA movement, I think this thing is about like this much away from totally breaking and blowing up in front of our faces. And I'm not catastrophizing. I really don't think that I am. I think that I'm being actually very fair when it comes to all that stuff. And so let's get into it then. So this is a two-sided coin, I believe. This is my analysis from it. I take no pleasure in saying this, by the way. But one side of that coin is Trump himself, and the other side of the coin is Trump's base. So you have two idols that people are really foisting up in terms of swapping them out for the MAGA values, which are good values. That's why Trump won a majority of the electorate this time around. They're good values. That's why people voted for him. So Trump has become an idol of himself by thinking pridefully that he can do anything he wants and become unaccountable to his base. That is exactly the trap that Trump has fallen into. And I think, there's countless examples of this. Trump has, in his own mind, become untouchable to his base. Oh, they'll forgive me for everything that I do. Like, I can just do whatever and they'll be okay with it. They'll get over it, whatever it's going to be. That's not how politics works. Even with someone like Donald Trump, who's the most powerful politician of my lifetime, more sway over most people than anybody in my lifetime, by far. It doesn't work that way. Politics means being accountable to your voters, the people that put you in the position of power. When you lose that, you lose your power. And so Trump has, especially during this second administration where he had to take 4 years off because people, because of, Joe Biden winning and everything like that, he basically said like, hey, I beat the odds. And he did. I beat death. He did. I did all these things. He did. But he's gotten an even more inflated ego from that perspective, even though I would say his other parts of his ego have taken a back seat. But in terms of his stance among his base, by saying like, hey, I can just go back on all the promises that I said and no one's going to really care, that's not going to fly. And it's not flying. And that's a really big problem. We're going to be talking about that more, but that's really where Trump has gone wrong. And so the other side, the second part of this, is that his base, the MAGA movement, has fallen for that idolatry trap by elevating Trump no matter what. Trump can do no wrong. I am supportive of the president no matter what he does, no matter what he says, no matter how many times he has not kept a promise to us, whatever. Because this second term, he has not done so. He has not done so on multiple fronts. And I'm personally very upset about that. I'm very upset about that. So not only do they elevate and defend Trump no matter what, the MAGA people, and I'm a MAGA person, so I can speak on this, they affirm him in whatever he does. So even if Trump betrays his base, which he's done multiple times, I would argue throughout this entire administration, they say, hey, no big deal, whatever, it's fine, don't worry about it, which leads to Trump thinking and fueling his own idolatry, thinking that he is untouchable. And so I think this is leading to people are slowly coming to terms with, on both sides of the coin, on the Trump side and on the MAGA side, that this administration is largely becoming a failure. Again, they're cooked. Trump is cooked. This administration is done. You give it another runway of a year up until they get to the midterms, and I think they're going to lose the midterms because that's what happens in most administrations, but I think they're going to lose the midterms this time as well. So they have about a year left of power, and they're not getting anywhere. And I take no pleasure in saying this, by the way. Like, I want that agenda to succeed. In many ways they have, but in a lot of ways they haven't, and we should be honest about that. But I believe that when all is said and done, that this will be one of the biggest disappointments, the failure of the Trump administration for value-oriented people out there, because we've run into the same idolatry problem that has always existed, political idolatry, Trump idolatry. And I mean, the Epstein files are an example of this. Like, day one, Epstein files released. Where are they? What are you hiding? Who are you covering for? Who's on your payroll? What is this? The tech right is an example of this. Why in the world does Peter Thiel and Palantir get a blank check to basically put all of us in a database? Why is that a thing? It shouldn't be. I didn't vote for that. I didn't vote for all these tech people coming in, like Mark Andreessen. Like, did anyone really think that Mark Andreessen was MAGA? That Peter Thiel was MAGA? That Elon Musk was MAGA? They're not. They're grifters. They're shills. They're technocrats. They're not. So, it just comes down to this. I mean, the Trump administration, they're not delivering on the promises that they said. They're just not. And it serves us right, by the way, for buying into it. It serves us right for buying into this and thinking that, okay, you know, hey, they're going to do right by us no matter what. It's going to be fine. We don't have to do anything about it, whatever. So the issue with this, however, the issue with the right, with the conservative movement, MAGA movement, America First movement, whatever you want to call it, is that if this happens, if the Trump administration does implode, which it could not, but I think it's in the process of doing so right now, which is unfortunate, they will have no future. I was just listening to a podcast this morning with Megyn Kelly and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And their answer, they're both two pretty smart women, I think. I like both of them. And so they basically asked each other kind of like, hey, what's going to happen after Trump leaves? And they're like, I don't know. And I don't know either. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think Trump knows. I don't think anybody in his administration knows. So basically, the left, which is completely valueless and full of idolatry, as mentioned, they're at least propping up new idols. They're putting up Zoran Mamdani. They're putting up, Luigi Mangione. They're putting up all these, Jasmine Crockett, all these people. And are those people serious? And are those people destructive and hateful and a bunch of things? Of course they are. They're ridiculous. And so the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, they've already destroyed the old idols of neoconservatism and the establishment GOP, which thank God for that, because they needed to be destroyed. They needed to be torn down. But what's really scary, in my view, is what happens if we don't reverse course, if we don't go back to where we came from and get the MAGA agenda actually accomplished, which I've seen no signs of us doing. I just don't have much hope for that. And again, I take no pleasure in saying that at all. I take no pleasure in saying that. But I think it's going to end up being a failure, and I think it's going to be a faceplant. And am I glad that, still that, Kamala Harris is not the president? Like, you bet I am. I'm very glad about that. But in terms of just the overall stance of what that administration was going to mean for a lot of people, it's a failure, I think. And we should be honest in calling it out as such.